I hope everyone had a great couple of weeks. Not on here. Hope you got to watch some replays. But last week, I hope you had a phenomenal time with my friend and mentor, Miss Elizabeth Gardner, and really got to dive deep into your goals for 2026. So if you're watching live, go ahead, just drop a hashtag live in the comments. If you're watching the replay, hashtag replay, right? It never matters when you get the information, just as long as you are getting the information. And if you missed last week, don't worry. I got great feedback from some of you. So I'm so glad that some of you were able to attend. Not sure if everyone was able to, but that's okay. If you weren't able to attend, no big deal. We're going to do a recap tonight of that goal setting workshop. Now, that was 2.5 hours. We're going to condense it into about 20 minutes. But I want to just touch on the highlights and really make sure that as we gear up to 2026, we're really setting goals that are worthwhile. And that's why I wanted to spend the month of December really nailing down those goals and getting very realistic about it, but also remembering to think big. Because a lot of times I feel like we don't think big enough. We just say, oh, well, wouldn't it be nice if we did X, Y, and Z? But we forget to dream a little bit bigger. And sometimes it's okay to think big because it doesn't matter if you don't necessarily hit the goal within the time frame that you wanted to hit it, as long as you continue to work toward it, right? And so we talk a lot about that. But if you were able to get the goal setting workshop, go ahead and grab it. We're not going to go into too much detail. If you don't have it, that's okay. You're not going to miss out on anything. But I want to really talk about the vision part of everything, because we talk so much about having a strong why and how important it is to have that strong why when you're thinking about setting goals. Because if your why is not tied to your core values, then you're not going to stay motivated as long, right? Because that why is not strong enough. Okay. So when you're thinking about your vision statement, really write it out in very descriptive language. And Elizabeth Gardner gave the example, and this may or may not resonate with you. This didn't resonate with me as much, so I had to write my own, right? But waking up to the soft glow of morning light reflecting off the water outside my window, the gentle rhythm of waves grounding me in gratitude before my feet even touch the floor. My home is an oasis, calm, beautiful, and aligned with the lifestyle I've intentionally built. Now, this part I did align with. My health feels strong, energized, and fully supported by habits that nourish both my body and my mind. As I step into my day, I'm surrounded, both physically and virtually, by the people who elevate me, right? My relationships are rich and full. My family and closest friends are woven into my days with love, laughter, and presence. Connection that nourishes me and reminds me of what truly matters. You see how we're really painting very descriptive things, and she's going through the day. And then at the end, as the evening arrives, the water mirrors the colors of the setting sun, and I feel a profound sense of fulfillment. My life meets every physical, emotional, and financial need and exceeds them. I'm living with purpose, growing with intention, and thriving in every dimension of who I am. This is my life, abundant, connected, and beautifully mine. You see how that vision really paints the picture of what she wants her life to be, right? And that was one of her old vision statements that she shared. And so when you're writing your vision statement and your why statement, filling out that worksheet, it's a long packet, right? And it's really meant to design your life so that you can achieve those goals, right? Not just set them and forget about them, right? How do we create those daily habits that are going to get you where you want to be, right? And a lot of times we think, oh, well, if I could just do this, then I would be ready to start X, Y, and Z, right? And just remember, and somebody has said this goal, and I say this to people all the time. They'll say, "Oh, well, I've got to do the laundry first, or I've got to vacuum first," right? Guess what? The laundry and the vacuuming will be there tomorrow. But that skipped workout won't be there tomorrow. It'll be the workout that you missed. Now, I'm not saying neglect your responsibilities, but what I am saying is figure it out. And I'll tell you, so, and this might be a controversial viewpoint, but one of the easiest things for me to do is my laundry. And if my mom's listening, she's going to say, yeah, because I do it for you and I'm there, which is true. And I appreciate her for that. But one of the easiest things for me to do is to wash and dry my clothes. Now, folding them and putting them away may be a different story, but I live alone, so I don't have to, right? I can live out of my dryer. Not a big deal. Okay, so I fully understand if you're in a different situation where you have to take the clothes out of the dryer, it's different. But these are things that I habit stack, right? I'll start a load of laundry before I go to the gym in the morning. By the time I get back, the washer's done. I can throw them in the dryer. Boom, I'm done. Right? So these are things that I've stacked, right? And so just think of easier ways that you can get things like that done that you use as an excuse to not do what you need to be doing. That's my point in that. Right? And then ask yourself, what happens if I don't achieve my goal? What is the loss to my life if I don't do this? What are you losing? What are you missing out on if you don't take charge of your health? If you don't start eating right, exercising, doing the things you know that you need to be doing? We all know we need to do it, right? What are you missing out on by not doing those things? Because that's just as important as the what you're going to gain, right? What are you missing out on by not doing it? Right? Are you missing out on traveling more and getting to see really cool things? Are you missing out on your kids or your grandkids, right? Because you can't do the things with them that you would like to do. What are you missing out on? Right? So think about it. What are 1 to 3 goals that you can accomplish next year that are going to move you toward that vision that you talked about, right? When you wrote your vision, what are 1 to 3 goals that you can accomplish, right? That are in alignment with your priorities. So that's a big thing, right? Okay. So we talk all the time about creating new habits, right? You can just go cold turkey and you can just say, hey, I'm done. I'm fed up with it. Here we go, right? Or schedule your new habits in. We talk about scheduling things all the time because if it's not on my schedule, it's not going to get done. Right? And then the habit stacking, right? Stack it into, I just talked about that, right? With my laundry, I'll put it in the washer before I leave. When I come back, throw it in the dryer, and then it's done. I don't have to think about it, right? But thinking about when are you going to do your personal development, if that's something you need to add in. I have used habit stacking to get that done. And I end up usually doing a lot more because I get so engulfed in it and so just with it that I continue to listen, right? But I go for 15 minutes a day of a good audio, right? And that's the first thing I do when I get out of bed, right? I do my water, the cold water, whatever that looks like, and I immediately turn on my YouTube that suggests my personal development because now it knows that's what she's going to look for in the mornings. So I don't even have to search for anything anymore. YouTube suggests it. So as soon as it pops up, it's like, well, that's what my phone and YouTube thinks I need to be listening to today based on everything I've been listening to. So this might be what I need to hear today. Right. And I would say 99 times out of 100, truly, it's what I need to be listening to. Every now and then I'll say, okay, no, I want to listen to something else and I'll change it. But for the most part, it's there because I've curated that algorithm. So my YouTube is showing up. My YouTube knows my habits, right? So it's so easy for me to just turn my alarm off, click on the video that I need it to see, or that I need to do, and then there we go, right? So really think about what your vision is, right? And then really think about how you're planning your day, right? Because remember, we plan tomorrow tonight. And then also, how are you starting your day? You have to have that solid morning routine. If you don't have that solid morning routine, you are setting yourself up for failure. And then we have to really think about our self-talk, right? Being our own superhero. And we're going to talk about that next week. Okay. But beginning each day with a plan for success. When you plan out your next day the night before, you wake up and you can accomplish anything because you're like, I know exactly what I'm doing. You don't have to think about it because you already thought about it and planned it out, right? I accomplish the items that are most important to my goals first, right? Do I need to make sure I have my lunches packed or prepped? Do I need to make sure I get my workout in? Or am I doing something that's scheduled for later in the day? What does that look like? My thoughts, words, and actions align with my goals. I gauge my success by executing on my priorities. Right? So if you really think about it, you're creating the habits that you want. That's how we achieve our goal. All right. And then we have our I am statement. That's later on in the packet. Right. And there's all kinds of this. This is scripting, right? This is writing things as if they have already happened. Right. I love this first one. Okay. And this is the only one I'm going to read here. Actually, I'm going to read two of them. Right. Okay. I am a force of nature in 2026, fully embodying my highest identity. I move with unwavering consistency, discipline, and purpose, taking bold, aligned action that amplifies my extraordinary influence. Nothing stands in my way as I create life-changing impact for the people I lead, serve, and inspire. I am living up to my limitless potential, firing on all cylinders, mentally, physically, and emotionally. My health is radiant and strong, fueled by intentional habits that give me boundless energy, clarity, and vitality. I carry myself with confidence, grace, and presence. And these are things that when we start to create these, we start to live them. Most of you have been with me since before I got sick or right after I got sick and had some serious health challenges, right? And we all know it's been a process, right? It's been medications, it's been surgeries, it's been all of this, right? And it's been you're never going to lift again, right? Well, guess what? I just went to the World Championships in Hawaii, and that is my third World Championship since I had my surgery, and they told me you might not ever be able to lift again. Not like that anyway. Right? I said, I don't care. That's who I am. So that's who I'm going to create. Right. And just a couple of weeks ago, I was on a medication that they told me I'd be on forever. Right. And this is just 2 years after my final surgery. And I will never forget this. My doctor walks in and says, hey, you're good. You don't need this medication anymore. So this is a testament to consistency, discipline, and just showing up and doing the work, right? Because I had what several of the doctors said was one of the most severe cases they had ever seen. And now I'm on no medication, right? It's been a long journey, but I never stopped just showing up for myself and being consistent and doing the things that I knew I needed to do that would keep me healthy, right? And that meant some serious changes, right? Lifestyle changes and some shifts and some different strategies, right? But that's what had to be done, right? And I'm not special, but what I do have is that mental clarity where I continue to push and I don't, it's that resilience, right? That we continue to build. And how do I do that? Through the I am statements, right? Through the personal development, which is such a key piece that a lot of times I feel like is left out of the weight loss process, right? Because anybody can eat specific things and do specific things for a certain amount of time. But until you are truly personally developed, because there are going to be challenges, there are going to be hurdles you have to and obstacles you have to navigate. It's life, right? So if you are missing that personal development piece, that's going to hold you back. All right. So, and I want to read this because some of the feedback I got was this was so powerful, right? And this was Elizabeth Gardner's 15-year-old daughter that wrote this. And so if you didn't get to get on that class, I want to make sure this is heard, right? I want to make sure this resonates. Okay. So I'm going to read this to you and then really think about as we go into next week. I want you to craft your vision statement. So that's going to be your homework as we leave here, right? Is really crafting your solid vision statement. And then next week, we're going to work on really hashing out those goals to be very specific to help you reach that vision. Okay. So this is called What If, right? And it's by Pete and Gardner Gray. Okay. We are all the same, tied together by dreams of the future and thoughts of the past. Humans with a human connection. Fears, hopes, desires, love, they all create a common thread that spans deeper than the soul could ponder and wider than the heart could venture. A tie that could pull us all together or leave us weak and separated as it longs for what it knows as truth. Happiness hinges in the what ifs of life. A what if future becoming what is. Belief in what if fortifies hope and tightens the gap between reality and imagination. My dad always believed in the idea of think and create. What if that happened for you? If you have the audacity to believe in the what ifs for yourself and for your own future, what you trust in will become reality. You can't underestimate the power of your own voice, your own thoughts, your own strength. So many times, a simple song has led a nation. What if the writer had never written it? A single voice has carried through generations, so the dreams of people centuries ago could become everyday truths. What if they had made the choice to keep their voice silent? If today became the fulfillment of your most sought after what if, what would that mean for you? What would it mean for the world? Where do your desires lie? Do they exist in what the people around you expect, or are they your own? Would you stand up in front of the world to fortify the living of the life you know is right? If nothing was going to stop you, you were guaranteed to change your life, your circumstances, your world, what would you do? Because it's not so difficult to trust in what you believe. What's harder is proclaiming that belief to the non-believers, to those that don't agree, and move forward in the face of their judgment. Will you paint the great work that only you can create? Will you sing the song that only you can sing? Will you write down the words that were given only to you? Will you help to save the hurting soul that was placed in your path? Or will you buckle under the illusion of fear? What if? That is the question. Who are you willing to be during the lifetime you have been given? What is the impact one person can have if they chose to step forward? What if who you are matters to the world? Because it does. What if you were to matter to you? And I think that is incredibly powerful. I got chills the first time I heard it. And I love it because when you think about it, right, move forward in the face of their judgment, the people that don't agree. Maybe we're our own judgment, right? Maybe we're the ones judging ourselves, right? And what if you were to matter to you? And that's where you have to get with your vision, right? You have to really focus on what matters to you and why that matters, right? And it doesn't matter if it's something that you perceive as big or small. If it's important to you, that's your why. That's what matters. All right. So as we close, I want you to really focus on getting very clear about your vision statement heading into 2026. Okay. And then next week, we're going to really tighten that down and break that down into 1 to 3 smaller goals that we can achieve in 2026. It's going to move us closer to that vision. So as always, I am so grateful for each and every one of you for continuing to show up and allow me to pour into you. And I cannot wait to see what 2026 brings, but we will be back here next Sunday, 7 p.m. And until then, I will see you in text message or in the chat. And I am wishing everyone a super successful week. Merry Christmas to those of you who celebrate. Happy Hanukkah to those of you who are celebrating. And I will see you back here next Sunday, 7 p.m.